Jeff from Phoenix, Arizona writes, I have on several occasions spoken to my teaching or senior pastor about errors in his slide presentations. Many times he has quoted Revelations instead of Revelation. He has also now quoted Number, Thessalonian, Ephesian, and similar errors in plurality in his presentations. I'm also troubled that this has not been corrected or addressed by the church elders or other pastors. May I get some advice on how or who to address this with? My discussions are either ignored or thought not to matter to my teaching pastor.
Well, Jeff, you're walking a narrow edge here. If you have trouble with your pastor, you would have had incredible trouble with Dwight L. Moody because he butchered the King's English. And for that reason, many people did not want him to come to their pulpits when he was invited to England. And in one particular church, when he went to preach, Pastor Morgan said, Moody, these people love Moody. Why do they love Moody so much? And one of the women in his church said, well, though he ruins our English, he speaks to our hearts. And, of course, God used Dwight L. Moody to bring about great revival, really more than revival, awakening in the hearts of lost people. So you need to be careful here because, listen, there are a lot of men of God who have never had the privilege and blessing to go to seminary, and there might be some fine nuances in terms of how they preach that you would not appreciate, that he calls the book of Revelation Revelations. There's obviously no such book. It is a single revelation that Christ gives to the Apostle John. But look, if he's a man of God and he's trying to serve God, I remember with our family, we were up in the mountains of Tennessee, and we went to this little country church up at the top of the hill. And the pastor there worked hard during the week. He had another job. And then he'd study on Saturday night with the time he had, and he pastored this little church in this little tiny community that had like 35 people. And I still remember it because when we walked in with our family, with our 5 children, they went to the front of the church and they upped the numbers on the little board. They had this little board on the top where it said worship attendance and Sunday school attendance. And a lot of churches used to do that in years gone past. But he butchered the English language. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to improve. I'm sure I butcher the English language more often than not. But I think the biggest thing you need to do is look at the heart of the man. And if he is loving God and serving God as best he knows how, the majority of pastors in the United States have never been to seminary. And there was a time when there were no seminaries. People just learn through their local church. And local churches ought to be committed to giving people a theological education and grounding. But the text that I would take you to would be 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 12. Let me read it to you. But we request of you, brethren, that you appreciate those who diligently labor among you and have charge over you in the Lord and give you instruction. So he underscores 3 things, 3 ways in which a pastor labors or serves. They labor among you. So it's hard work. And most people have no idea the amount of time, especially if someone is earning their living from the gospel, that they may commit to preparing a sermon. And they have no idea. They think, well, the pastor just works a couple hours on Sunday morning and that's it, and he's off the rest of the week. There are 3 principal dimensions to a pastor's job. One is he is to prepare himself in the Word, he's to pray, and he's to evangelize. Those are his 3 principal responsibilities. Not to visit the sick in the hospital, though he may do that on occasion, to do a lot of things that you think he should do. Look, when the apostles, who were pastors, now obviously not all pastors are apostles, but all apostles are pastors. Now I know that because Peter calls himself a fellow pastor, a fellow elder in 1 Peter chapter 5. But to be an apostle, you had to have been hand-selected by Christ, and if that were true, you would do the signs, wonders, and miracles that only an apostle could do. And you saw him in his resurrected body. Those 3 things had to be true. With that said, they were pastors, and when they had an opportunity to serve tables, it's not that they were above that, but they said, look, you need to get some other folks to do this, because if we do it, we will fall short in some more critical areas of service that God has given to us. And we're going to devote ourselves to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So he speaks about those who labor among them, those who are over you. Leaders are recognized as being over the congregation. They rule. And so traditionally, historically, in the New Testament, biblically, there was a plurality of elders. You see this throughout the New Testament. When Paul gathers the church at Ephesus, he calls for the elders, not the elder, but the elders in Ephesus. There's certainly a point elder, what we might call a leader among equals, and so Jesus addresses the point man. Today we might use the term senior pastor in the 7 letters to the 7 churches found in the Revelation. But the church was run by a group of men. If any among you are sick, let him call for the elders, plural, of the church, singular. Not the elders of the churches, not the elder of the church, but the elders, plural, of the church, singular. And so he speaks here about those in a plurality who labor among you, who have charge over you. And so they have charge over you. Obey your leaders, submit to them. That's what the scripture says. And so the local assembly is not a democracy where we all get together and we vote on things, and whoever gets the most votes, and you ask over, and how many of you think, we should do it this way? All of you who think we should do it this way say bah. And all of you who think we should do it this way say bah. And they count the bahs over here and the bahs over there, and whoever bahs the loudest gets their way. That's not the way the church is run, at least not biblically. So they labor over you, they have charge over you, and they give you instruction. And what are you to do? You are to esteem them highly in love because of their work. And so that should be your focus. Not whether or not he says Ephesians versus Ephesian or Revelation versus Revelations. Now, you might have a relationship with your pastor where you can say, hey, I wonder if you have thought about this. I want to enhance your ministry, and I don't look. He may never get there, and you've obviously admonished him or encouraged him, I hope, once, and he just didn't, for whatever reason, respond. And it may be his educational level. I don't know. But I think you would be wrong for nitpicking him like a Pharisee, because that's really what you're doing, and you need to stop.
Dr. Carl Broggi answers your questions about the Bible and living the Christian life Tuesday mornings at 11 on The Light, 88.7 FM, and online around the world at wagp.net.